Hi, friends. Thank you again for all the liking, subscribing, sharing, but more importantly, thank you for your comments. I really have enjoyed them. And one of the followers, I believe they're a follower, um, made a really interesting comment slash question on my last video, and it was actually one of the shorts. But it was when I said that I don't run from triggers. I embrace them. I lean in. And they asked a really great question. They said, how do you know when you're ready? How do you know you're ready to face a trigger? And that was a tough one. I actually thought about it for quite a bit. And I said, oh my gosh, I said this statement. Can I even define it? Can I give a recipe for how to get there? And I'm going to try. It's not the easiest to take apart. Well, the first thing I said to the person was essentially, do you know how to tell the difference between a herd of cows and a herd of bison or buffalo? The way that you tell the difference is when a storm comes in. The cows spook and they run. They run and run and run until they cannot run anymore. And if they're lucky, the storm is over and it's spent. If they're not lucky, they now are in the middle of the storm and they're exhausted. So bison, what do? They see the storm coming and they run straight into it and through it. Now that feels probably crazy, right? I remember someone telling me, you need to know what your triggers are. And I think what they meant was know what your triggers are, because when you find yourself triggered, then you can recognize it and either be patient or kind with yourself, or perhaps, in general, I thought it meant remove yourself from the situation. Well, the problem is that I have had lifetime patterns that have repeated themselves over and over and over again. And I was the exhausted, spent cow that was still getting hit with the brunt of the storms. I cannot tell you how many storms I have tried to avoid. So I started to try to do things in a less crazy way, which is trying something new. And I realized that when I was faced with opportunities that would potentially be hard, I could run to it, run through it, and get to the other side. Get to the other side. And yeah, it would be terrifying. The lightning and the rain and the hardship. But what I'm learning is that either you run through the storm and get it over with, or you run and run to avoid it until you're so exhausted that when the storm hits you, you can't function. So, I was talking to a friend of mine about a funny story of my past, because it really kind of is relevant with something that happened tonight. It was a new opportunity. So, in my early 20s, I had a person who was what I thought was a friend, and she thought I was her mentee. She was mentoring me. I had no idea. I thought we were peers and equals. Well, when I went into I was in a sort of nonprofit program, and there was a lot of education involved in the program. And while doing this, she was very determined that she was going to also teach me. In fact, I think she might have even been worried that I was becoming less reliant on her, though, to be fair, I never was relying on her. I think the plan was that I would rely on her, and it just didn't quite work out that way. So I thanked her politely and said, I cannot read the book you've given me and so on. I'm kind of in classes and courses right now, but it's super kind of you to think of me. Well, she was upset and said some things, but not horribly, not too many things. Then I went to another state. I lived in another state for a couple of months, and I worked with the homeless and at a facility helping people. And it was really, really hard. I was mostly alone. And I had people that I could talk to on occasion, but it was a very lonely time for me. It was very hard, but I grew a lot. And in this time of me feeling fairly tired and slightly uncertain, the mentor came and popped right up, trying to tell me how to do things and so on. And I said, gosh, thank you, but this is not the time. And then it happened. She told me who I was, what kind of person I was, my future, that I would fail, that I sucked, probably. It was rough, man. It was hard. She attacked every value system I had and said, you're not in alignment with any of your value systems. It was rough. It was really rough. Then I had another situation similar with someone else, and I was just like, geez, what is going on? I'm just trying to help people here. Why is this happening? Fast forward to about a year and a half later, I am in a Kohl's shopping, and I hear a voice. And I am like, I think I know that voice. And I turn and look and I said, oh my gosh, it's the mentor. And I was terrified. Like a scared cow, I ran into the changing room and closed the door and hid and trembled and was scared and was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how long I'm going to have to be in here for. Do you think she'll leave? Do you think she'll come into the changing room? Do you think she's going to come in here and then I won't be able to sneak out? Oh my God, what am I going to do? I waited, I think, somewhere in the range of 15, possibly 20 minutes, shaking. I'm sorry, guys, but if you are that kind of mentor, reevaluate your life. Just a sidebar. That is not mentoring, and that is not inspiring. It is decimation and cruelty. And where did it come from? Her fear. She didn't feel important because I was progressing away from her. And so she slapped me down to make sure I got back where I belonged. Well, after that amount of time, I can't tell you how long, I timidly creeped out of the dressing room and looked around and didn't see her, and timidly peeked my head out into the clothing area and didn't see her. And I ran to my car and drove away, panting and breathing and, oh my gosh, hi, ah. I think I went home and I cried. I cried. Because back then, other people told me who I was. We all fall victim to it, especially if you actually are emotionally intuitive, you have a high EQ. You're self-evaluating, you're aware of who you are, you're looking at your behaviors, your actions, because you want to grow and become a better person, right? And people who like to gaslight, who like to control, find those high EQs and tell them, you know what? You need me to tell you who you are, and then you could be something. You could be successful. But you didn't listen to me, so you're going to be a failure and you're a loser. Super motivating, right, my friends, right? I bet you're thinking of someone in your life that did this to you. Maybe you're thinking of 4 or 5 people in your life that did this to you. What's the cure? Well, part of it's time. But a lot of it is facing the identity they tried to give you and rejecting it. Rejecting it. Now, I have used, intentional neuro-linguistic programming practices to help me think about like who I really am, and I will do it for 30 days and to just kind of reprogram my brain, and it has worked in a lot of ways. The other piece, and in my mind the more important piece, is that I've just started to believe the way that God speaks to me as a human being. I've started to value how he sees me and not value how other people determine my worth or value. I've decided to give up on their opinions. I still want to be evaluating and responsible, but I'm not going to let someone else tell me who I am. I will have weak moments and forget, I am sure. But today I had a chance to be shown that I've grown. I was in a business event that's connected with the industry I used to work in, which is recruiting, headhunting, HR. And someone invited me, actually last minute, hey, do you want to come? And without hesitation, I said yes. And then upon careful deliberation, I thought, oh, this boss who has been horrible could be there, this colleague, etc. There were a few people that I wouldn't necessarily want to run into. And I thought, meh, I'm going. I had a little bit of adrenaline. My hands were shaking just a little bit. And then I was like, breathe. You are not afraid. They do not have power over you. Sorry, I'm hopping back here. They're not in charge. And I didn't feel embarrassed. I didn't feel the need to prove to them that I'm someone worth more. I wasn't angry. I didn't feel sad. I kind of didn't feel much. And it wasn't this like, I'm burying it so that I don't have to feel it. It was just like, meh, they're not right about me. They don't know who I am. I know who I am. And the situation in which I was treated unfairly, I was treated unfairly, and they gaslit me. This is all your fault, and this is why. But really, there was a plan in play and a goal in mind for what they wanted to do, and I was in the way. And for so long, I let that ruminate in my soul until I stopped, until I didn't. You see, they're not in charge of who I am. They have value as a human being. I see the brokenness. I see the sad pieces. I see the lost pieces. And it's what happened wasn't okay, but I'm okay. And I'm okay with seeing them and running into them and seeing them as a human being with value. In my 20s, panicked and hiding in the dressing room. In my 30s, probably still panicked and hiding many places. A lot of hiding. Now, well, I hope I don't hide, but I might again. I might get panicked and have to hide in a corner. But lately, I can be in the same room as a person who has hated me and told me who I am. And I'm okay with being around them because they don't get to define my identity. No one else gets to do that for me anymore. I'm over it, guys. Breaking up. We've broken up. I hope that this encourages you. It's taken time. It's taken a lot of time for me as a people pleaser and as a person that thought that how people perceive me was truth. Do you need help finding your own voice? Do you need help breaking the cycle and the pattern of thinking that is, I don't know, holding you captive, reach out to me. You can leave a comment. You can go to my website as well. I've been there as a person who knew who I was, but was also ashamed and afraid of who I was. And let people tell me, you're garbage, you're trash. Don't let people tell you who you are. Maybe you did a lousy thing. Maybe you made a mistake. That's not who you are. And it's never too late for you to redefine yourself and your identity. And more importantly, and I say it again, though not everyone believes in God, I get it. God gets to tell you who you are. And in my experience, there's a lot more kindness and gentleness in the way that God talks to us. More than I talk to people, I'm trying to be more kind. More than humans can do. Thank goodness, because we all need it. So my goal is to have compassion for people who are sad, broken, insecure, cowardly. Have compassion for them. And also say, hey, we broke up. You don't get to tell me who I am. We're done. But I do wish you well, and I hope that you can become well. Thanks for listening, friends. Thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing with friends. And I love the comments, so keep them coming. And I will see you soon.